I always had known that I wanted to be an actress from a very early age. So as bad as I was at auditioning, every now and then there'd come a time where I felt that I really was good and I was as good as I could be in that moment. And then it didn't matter whether I got cast or not, because I knew I'd given my best, and maybe it wasn't what they wanted. I'm fascinated by behavior. You know, I love riding the bus and the subway in New York, just so you can watch people. You know, I love that. I love characters where you have to kind of figure out the why of their behavior. And I love scripts that don't just, you know, kind of have it all there. You know, that they're mysteries that have to be filled in and secrets that have to be kind of explored. And I find that interesting. We're all disguised as ourselves. I think all of us put on, you know, we have our public face, and we have, you know, it's very hard to sometimes know what really is, most of the time, what's really going on in somebody else, you know. We're masters at it. For anyone who's creating anything, the process is where you get your great joy, you know, arriving every day and creating something with an amazing group of people. That's what you live for. I think it's really healthy to be scared. I think if you don't do things that are scary, you might tend to get complacent. And I think I test myself periodically by doing something that really scares me.
The work you do, or the work that I do, is probably going to be tough enough. You know, I choose projects that are not particularly easy, but they're challenging, and they move me along, they move me forward. If you're interested in your work, which is why I got into this, you want it to be about the work. And when suddenly the work gets interrupted by a more cosmetic view of yourself, that doesn't always feel good. On the other hand, how can you not be flattered if somebody likes the way you look? That never came into my life until after I became an actor. And by that time I was already an actor, and I entered the profession by way of craft, not personality.
You had many romantic scenes with some of the world's most glamorous women, locked in a clinch for hours on end with the likes of...
I love comedy, and I did comedy in the theater, but I also did drama. And I think if you're an actor, if you're a serious actor, you look at both comedy and drama in the same light. You know, you don't put one ahead or to the side of the other. And so therefore, when you go forward with your work, it just sort of falls into place. And if you get a string of dramatic parts, then that suddenly begins to label you a bit. What I try to do is put comedy into the work whenever I can. More subtle than probably a lot of stuff that's coming out of my country, but it's there because I couldn't do it without it. There are some people who can direct themselves, and my hat goes off to them because they can do it comfortably. In this experience, as I think probably the director didn't ask much of the actor, and the actor didn't demand much of the director. I also was self-conscious, to be honest with you.
Really?
Yeah, I was. I didn't feel comfortable stepping into a scene. I'd be rehearsing all the actors, and then I'd step into the scene and be in it. And then I'd say, well, cut. And, you know, you can't turn around and say, how was that? You know? So you go to the monitor, which I don't like doing because of its artificial connection to the work. And then you have to watch what you've just done, which I don't like doing. And so I would too quickly say maybe, okay, that's fine, let's move on.
You know what? The whole experience has been such a huge learning curve. I've realized how much I really love telling stories and actually being involved in the pre-production, the casting, like, you know, telling the story from beginning till end, being in the edit. It's a lot, kind of watching myself. It was kind of a challenging experience. Confronting. But I loved how in the edit you add a breath here, when you choose to cut away from a frame or lean in, it just, the fabric of the storytelling, and it's so, every choice you make is so important, and I loved that.
Oh, you love it.
Yeah,
obviously.
Really
yeah.
It's a gift as an actor because you get to play these incredible roles, fictional or real, and you do at times really want to hold on to some of those qualities. We're all going to face, you know, challenges, both personal and professional, and it's what you do with it that really matters. And those moments in life that you may feel are completely crippling or that you can't overcome, you can, and actually they might just offer up the key to your mission in life. And that if you then follow that, you're unstoppable. It's such a power.
Go fail.
Yeah.
And learn from it and pick your bootlaces back up and try again.
Yeah.
Because the fear factor, and especially today, with social media and bullying and TikTok, you know, it's a lot of intel and a lot of stimuli and a lot of negative. Yeah.
And I think that's what everyone is coming to, because that's what Matthew McConaughey said yesterday.
He said that yesterday.
He said the same, you have to fail. You missed
Go
it.
and try
But it was
out.
go and try, and if you fail, you get up and you go back. We're all and maybe it's because we've become grown-ups.
And
you know, that we have failed.
We didn't have a
Got back
choice
up.
to not fail when we were growing
right.
up. And they do now. I feel like there's a lot of pacification and lifting and basically celebrating mediocrity is what I find disturbing for the children.
That's a great way to put it, because we have to kind of get back to
demanding excellence.
Doing your best. You know, doing your best and giving it your all, because that's what you do.
Malcolm Gladwell, he says you cannot be good at anything until you put 10,000 hours in. And I think that pretty much nails it. You have to put the time in to be really good at something. So of course you're going to fail in the beginning.
You know.
Of course. I mean, it's the song that we learned in preschool. Practice makes perfect. Keep up going. Keep going.
That's
right. You know.
At the beginning, I was very much part of the actor's studio philosophy. That was, I read books on it, you know, De Niro, Pacino, and Brando, and these were all, you know, my heroes. And then as time went on, I found different things, a mix of things. I kind of just got a more personalized approach. I read the script many times. So that's all I really do, is just continually read the script. But when I leave a set, I try and leave the work behind so I can come in fresh the next day. I don't try and stay in character. I think to be relaxed is also very good. So, you know, again, it's a very individual thing. You know, some people can spend, you know, months and months of research, and then somebody can come in, eat a banana, and just walk on set, and they're great. So I think it's just you to realize what works for you. You know, I used to think, oh, well, my character would never do that. But then I don't even know, in certain circumstances, what I'm going to do in life. So sometimes to not preload too much going into a scene, to actually leave yourself alone and to actually not think, I found, is to be the best. So it's you shoot over short, you know, it like you do 2 pages of dialogue in a day. On some short films, I would, you know, I mean, some low budget films or independent films, you know, you might shoot, I don't know, 15, 20 pages a day, depending on what the director's style is. So that is the main thing. It takes a longer time. In terms of the blue screen work, it's kind of not dissimilar to theater, because you have to imagine, you know, that Moscow is in the distance instead of the audience that are sitting there if you're doing a play. Or, you know, and you take that same principle, I did anyway, to working on a film.
And I think it's also very helpful to rehearse, I find at any rate, without, you know, scripts can get really tired. And so sometimes you can develop scenes that don't actually belong in the film, but somehow help you to create a common ground between people. It's very easy to interrupt that search, and it's very often done with talk, description, definition, which tends to kill things before they have a chance to be discovered. And even though they might go about it in different ways, I think what they have in common is that is to create a sense of freedom.
You did Blanche opposite a few Stanleys.
And I did, including understudies. The first Stanley was Tony Quinn, who I then went on the road with. He also was replacing Marlon Brando while Jessica was on vacation. Then Brando came back earlier than Miss Tandy, and I played 4 weeks with Brando. Then I went back with Tony Quinn. Then on the road I played with Jack Palance, and then he came into the New York company at one point, but not with me. Then I played with Ralph Meeker. Then I played with Dick Kiley. And somebody on the road in St. Louis later, but I can't remember his name, and he was a student of mine. Very good.
Well, what was it like? Talk about Marlon Brando and talk about Anthony Quinn.
Well, Marlon at that time, I think, was at his peak of creativity and work. I think Tony Quinn was much more correct for the part. Because Brando had such a sensitivity that, and I think that was Kazan, that Kazan identified with Kowalski. And that Blanche came in like the happy homebreaker instead of the victim of the play. She became the villain. And I think that's cockeyed, but that was very successful. However, we did it the other way around with Clermont. And so obviously for my taste, I like that better.
Quinn was very physical with you, wasn't he?
Well, he was physical with everybody. He was just undisciplined. Not to be mean, he couldn't help it. You want my favorite story? Is that why you asked?
I'd love one. I love one.
My favorite story.
Sure.
No, I used to beg him every night. I'd say, "Look at my arms." I said, "I have to put more makeup on my body than on my face because I'm so bruised." "Oh, I'm so sorry." He'd say, "I didn't mean it. I just felt it. I said, "Just cut it out." So, and there was one spot in particular where he had to grab me by the arms, and I again saw him coming. I already had endless bruises, and I saw these two thumbs that were heading right for my muscles in there, and I saw them, and he grabbed me, and I said, "Ow, ow, ow." I started screaming, and he forgot all his lines, and then I somehow fed him back into the lines. When we came off stage, he said, "You're not supposed to say that there." I said, "I'm sorry, I felt it." And he never hurt me again.
My favorite part about doing theater is the surprises. Because, and I get it, because it almost makes me emotional when, we spend 4 weeks in a rehearsal room together doing it for each other over and over again. And you get bored of each other. You get bored, it's like not funny anymore. And then there comes a point where you realize, oh, soon new people are going to come and watch this. Yeah. And they have no idea what we're going to do. And so it's a really sort of moving and magical thing, being on stage for people who don't know what's coming. It's truly, truly thrilling.
We love a good drama. I love a good drama. It's nice to go deep on certain things, but it's also just as important. And the work in these things that I enjoy is to keep them light, to keep them buoyant, to not take certain things so seriously. I call them like Saturday characters, and I like Saturdays. So that's the job. That's the challenge in these, is you find yourself wanting to go deep. Sometimes you have to go, hey, stay on your cloud, stay on your cloud. Keep this buoyant, keep it moving. Take it lightly. Comedy, I love comedy. All brands of comedy, but I like these because they're usually characters that don't necessarily have an occupation, that your dialect or something is bound to that occupation. It's about interpersonal relationships. It's usually just about dealing with something happening in life. So there's room for improvisation. There's room to be yourself. There's room to, have a good time. There's room to keep it light and have fun. There's room to get pissed off. But that in these type of movies that it's not going to be something heavy where no one's going to be angry for that long. Usually things are going to work out in these kind of movies, and I just like it. And when I find that it's the work is in keeping it easy, and that's a lot of work to keep it easy because it gets hard quite a bit. It becomes very difficult to keep it, as I said, buoyant. The tendency is to want to go down and go, wait, this has, a deep and meaningful significance, and you go, okay, it recognize that. Don't play that. Different movie. So the work is in keeping it light, and the light side of things is just as important as the dark. The easy is just as important as the difficult. The buoyant is just as important as the deep.
Let me say this. First of all, the word superstar really turned me off, and I'll tell you why. Because the word star, man, is an illusion. It's something what the public calls you. You should look upon oneself as an actor, man. I mean, you would be very pleased if somebody say, hey man, you are a super actor. It is much better than, superstar. Yeah. Honestly, saying this, okay, yes, I have been very successful.
Yeah.
Okay, but I think the word star is I do not look upon myself as a star. I really don't. I mean, believe me, man, when I say it. You know what I want to think of myself? As a human being. Because, I don't want to sound like, as Confucius say, but under the sky, under the heaven, man, there is but one family. It just so happened, man, that people are different. All type of knowledge ultimately means self-knowledge. Mm-hmm. To me, okay? To me. Ultimately, martial art means honestly expressing yourself. Now, it is very difficult to do. It is easy for me to put on a show and be cocky and be flooded with a cocky feeling and then feel like pretty cool and all that. Or I can make all kinds of phony things, you see what I mean? Blinded by it. Or I can show you some really fancy movement. But to express oneself honestly, not lying to oneself, and to express myself honestly, that, my friend, is very hard to do. And you have to train. You have to keep your reflexes so that when you want it, it's there. When you want to move, you're moving. And when you move, you are determined to move. Not taking 1 inch, not anything less than that. If I want to punch, I'm going to do it, man. And I'm going to do it, you see. So that is the type of thing you have to train yourself into it. To become one with the... You think? So therefore, they're coming in to... and ask me to teach them not so much of how to defend themselves or how to do somebody in. Rather, they want to learn to express themselves through some movement, be it anger, be it determination, or whatsoever. So in other words, what I'm saying, therefore, is that he is paying me to show him in combative form the art of expressing the human body.
Which is acting, in a sense, isn't it?
Well...
Or it would be useful, too, for an actor to have.
It might sound too philosophical, but it's acting or acting unacting.
You've lost me.
I have, right? So what I'm saying, actually, you see, it's a combination of both. Here it is the natural instinct, and here is control. You are to combine the two in harmony. Not, if you have one to the extreme, you will be very unscientific. If you have another to the extreme, you become all of a sudden a mechanical man, no longer a human being. So it is a successful combination of both. So therefore, it is not only, it's not pure naturalness or unnaturalness. The ideal is unnatural naturalness or natural unnaturalness.
Yin yang, eh?
Right, man, that's it. So styles tends to not only separate man, because they have their own doctrines, and then the doctrine became the gospel truth, that you cannot change, But if you do not have styles, if you just say, well, here I am, as a human being, how can I express myself? Totally and completely. Now, that way, you won't create a style, because style is a crystallization, that way, it's a process of continuing growth. Empty your mind. Be formless, shapeless, like water. Now, you put water into a cup, it becomes the cup. You put water into a bottle, it becomes the bottle. You put it in a teapot, it becomes the teapot. Now, water can flow, or it can crash. Be water, my friend. Running water never grows stale. So you gotta just keep on flowing.